Okay, here it is, the milk bread, right? And last we saw it, it was a lot smaller. So it's about 10:30, it's bedtime. And I need to decide what to do with this. Clearly it is huge, right? It's very active. And this is one of those dilemmas. I could put it in the refrigerator as it is right now, which would be the safe bet. I go in the fridge, it slows down because it's cold, and I deal with it in the morning. I shape it and let it proof again. But because it's milk bread, and generally it goes kind of slow in terms of proofing, I'm going to take the risky route, and I'm going to shape it now. I'm going to leave it out overnight, and then I'm going to bake it first thing in the morning, because my schedule will accommodate that. So here we go. What are we doing? We have choices. So yes, we have the loaf pan. I know, and that is a choice. But I could alternatively shape this into a banneton and make like a really pretty round with like, the spirals on it and like score it cool. And then it could sit in the fridge and we could bake it somewhere between 8 and 48 hours later, because that's how a banneton works. But I'm not going to do that, but that's a choice. I could shape it into a conventional sandwich loaf, which would be, we spread it out, we fold it in thirds, we fold it over, boom. I'm not going to do that either. I'm feeling like I want to shape this like a brioche. So that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to be baking in a loaf pan. And I always line my loaf pan with parchment paper. It makes it easy to get the bread out. This is actually a pre-owned piece of parchment paper. I used it for something else, but it's still good because it's clean. So we're just going to use a knuckle, fit a corner in here, tuck it down the side, just work your way around. This is almost not video worthy, but makes things clear, right? I do want to make sure that I don't have a ton of wrinkles. You're going to have some. You're going to have creases. But, try and flatten them into the loaf pan as best you can. And then, really crumpling up the edges will help hold it down in place while you're working your way around. All right, it's always good to have everything ready, mise en place. Now my loaf pan is ready for when I shape my dough. A little bit of flour here, a little bread flour. I'm not flouring my work surface. I'm just gonna let this flour kind of, take care of protecting my dough from sticking. A little bit on the bottom side because I'm gonna flip it over. What a nice, light, fluffy loaf of bread this is gonna be. Okay, so for shaping a brioche, I need one thing. I'm almost ready. I need my best friend, serrated pared knife. I'm gonna cut this into fours. We're gonna ball it, and then we're gonna put it into the loaf pan. So we're already doing one thing different, right? We've replaced all of our water with milk. So let's do one more thing different, and that's how we would shape into a loaf pan. All right, so we're going straight across, right in half. And we're going quarters. There's two. And there's two more. And I feel like these two are just a touch smaller than these, so I'm probably going to alternate these into my loaf pan. So there's a open side, right? This cut side that's sticky. I'm going to use this sticky side to bring together. I'm going to make kind of a ball, a little pouch, a little package. Same as if we were pre-shaping pizza dough before we ball it. And I'm just pinching it together. There's one. This is like, in my opinion, one of the bigger ones. I didn't get this thing perfectly, cut into equal balls, but whatever, that's fine. It's bread. There's a little one, you can kind of tell. So because I'm using milk in this recipe, I feel confident that this is not going to overproof and that this dough that's going to be in this loaf pan is going to be tall and ready to bake in the morning, but not all over the counter. All right. So I've got these 4 little pouches. I've got 2 smalls and I've got like 2 kind of bigger ones. And I'm gonna go ahead and knock out some air out of this because I want to make it to the morning. Because I feel like if I don't knock the air out of it, it's gonna be ready to bake at like 3 a.m. when I'm sleeping. So what am I doing here? I'm making a C shape with my hand, and then I'm taking this side of my hand and I'm kind of smearing, let's see, make it so you can see better. Kind of smearing it into the cutting board, and then the thumb kind of pushes into it. Is there a little bit of opening of the hand? A little bit. Mostly it stays the same shape, same size. Downward pressure, a little bit. Not trying to crush it, not trying to squish it. Maybe light downward pressure. So we're balling up the dough. And I said, you know, I'm going to make this like a brioche only in the sense of the shape that it is in the loaf pan. I would not ball dough like this for a brioche. I would just go like rough shaped. And you'll see if you go click on the brioche, sourdough brioche tutorial series. I'll link it in the description. It's cool. It's, you know, very similar to this, except we're adding eggs and butter. So it's a even richer, more delicious bread, although more expensive. Because eggs are not cheap right now, unless you have chickens in your backyard. Okay, so number 3, knocking out the air. And you don't have to go fast. You can go slow here too. So I'll go slow. And just like when we were stretching and folding the dough, we're looking to create tension. There's 3, and 1 more. I'll go slow. Sorry, I get carried away. I know what I'm doing, so sometimes I go a little fast. All right. So I've got these nice, tightly wadded up balls of dough. I'm not going to add any additional flour. We're going to go loaf pan. And the way this is going to go is I'm going to put one in right here. And I'm going to squish one in right next to it. And let's go big. We'll go with big, little, little. And I'm kind of taking the bottom of it and making sure that it's definitely tucked into the bottom of the loaf pan. So what have we got? This. We've got like everybody all stacked up. I'm going to trim off some of this parchment paper. Because I want to wrap it in plastic wrap. And I want my plastic wrap to have something to stick to, the metal. So if you were to go 500 grams here, 500 gram batch of flour, this would fill this out much more right now, but you'll see in the morning this is going to be much bigger. It's going to improve quite a bit because it is 10:45 right now, and I'm not going to be up until 6:30, so there's a lot of time for this to, you know, have a party tonight. And I know it looks small, right? But I'm still going to leave some air space here at the top so it can expand without sticking too much. All right, so there we go. Our milk bread is shaped, and now it's going to proof overnight. It's going to go for like 8 hours. And I'll see you in the morning, and we'll bake it.